right, hello. Hey, look Nahard. Thank you for the follow. All right, let's do it. Fresh week here. How's it going, everybody? How's the weekend? Let me turn the music off here. All right, let's get started. Let's waste no time. I did a lot last night. I tried hacking in like an update to our query system that will let us exclude components, because the initial query system only was like, I want to get all entities with these components. But we didn't have a process for saying, I want to get all entities with these components that don't have these components. That is different. That is different and requires a different process. So I hacked in a bunch of stuff, broke everything, kind of changed my mind overnight, so we're just going to keep hacking. I want to be able to state something like I wrote here. I want to be able to be like, my query is, I make a new query and it like includes these, and I could say dot excludes these. And I had a dot describe here because I kind of thought you'd generate a query description from a query builder, kind of like you would like with like a string builder sort of thing. And we might still use a query builder, but I want to kind of encapsulate it behind a simple query object, like a query class. So I think I want to go back. I think I want to write this, call this a query. Does a query result need to be a class? It kind of does, right? Because it has a component order associated with it. And it doesn't actually store that much that we access directly. It's mostly just a vehicle for enumerating over chunk data. So I guess that's fine. I want to try to approach this a different way. Let's make a class. Let's call it query. It can be sealed because it doesn't matter. I want to figure out how to change the default namespace. So anytime I make a file, I have to change it from digitaliliad.sln to di, which is my Digital Iliad namespace. This is di.ecs. So our query, I want to have like a static function. Something like public static. Well, let's make a subclass. So let's say within this class there is another class called result. And we can take basically the structure of this query result. Actually, we can keep this being a separate class, I guess. Maybe. Well, I already wrote a query result setup. So let's decide how we want to do this. I kind of want to, so when we make the system, I kind of want it to be like this. I kind of want to say, like, you could say something like this. You'd say something like, I kind of actually want it to say something like gameworld.query. I want to say something like query. Okay, let me say the thing I want to say. Autocorrect, whatever. Query. I want to say something like query.for. And then we would say, this is where we would say like, this is where we'd say the query that you want to query for. And then we could say without and then we could like list the components that you want with that. So I kind of like this kind of structure. Hey, NCB of all Gaia, how's it going? How are you doing this week? I know you were saying it's not going great last week, so hope things are turning around for you. But how are you doing? The thing is, I need it to work whether we have it just say, whether you say query for or query without. Like, we could take the without part and it would need to work the same. So we kind of need, and it would work differently. Maybe it wouldn't. Going even worse? Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. So I wanted, the thing is, we need to be able to get some final result from this. That's like the actual query result. And the query result is different than like this query.description. A query description is going to be like a struct that specifically lists what's included and excluded, because that is the thing that we're going to test for when determining whether or not we already have such a query. And it also is going to do some basic things for us, like test if a query is valid or not. Like it tests to make sure that there are components included in the query and that no components are listed in both the inclusion and the exclusion. The bad part is gone, but that's a story for a whole different time. Well, at least it's gone. Well, I hope you bounce back soon. Or not just, just take it easy. Just take care of yourself, I guess. Maybe we make a new query builder. Maybe we make a new query builder. We use it to build the description. And then we pass. Well, we need to pass the description ultimately to. I mean, we could just have a finalize function at the end. I kind of wish we could do it in a way that it's prepared. Maybe we can. Maybe we can. Maybe we can have it in such a way where it returns a description with the for, and then if you pass it dot without again, it uses that description to rebuild. That could be cool. You have some game ideas or some ideas for games though, so that's cool. That's awesome, NCB. Yeah, definitely pursue that. Game design is such a good focus for in my mind. This little world that you can build. Hey, where am I? How's it going? I'm doing good. How are you? We're working on our queries still. I'm trying to wrap it up. We're trying to expand our query system to accommodate exclusions. And I kind of hacked something together last night that kind of broke everything. So I'm kind of trying to decide how to redo it. I kind of used a classic like builder, description, result kind of system, but I don't love it. There's this concept of component order that I also really don't like. It relies on a dictionary. I don't think we can get away from it. Let's try to rebuild this just as a single class. Query. I still want the description to be a struct because I want the query description to be the thing we hook into a dictionary to tell if a query's already been made or not. I don't know. Let's see if we can do this as a struct. See if we can do the whole thing. You tried the observer pattern. I don't know if that exactly matches what we're doing. We're kind of using this in the sense that we're caching the queries once they've been created. So once a query is created, our system is keeping track of automatically which archetypes match the query or not. So in that sense, we are kind of using an observer pattern. Because the query sort of subscribes to a list of archetypes, and that list is updated without the query having to do anything else. So the query will always be up to date, which is a challenge sometimes in these kinds of systems. So let's make some static functions. So let's say something like public static query for. This will take should this take a composition? No, it should take a list of component flags. I guess the reason I wanted to have a separate list of results is that if I have the results separate from everything else, the results only need to know about the final composition. They don't need to know about what's excluded. So that's kind of nice. I really want to find a workaround for component order. Component order we kind of need. What are the C# Godot problems I faced? If you mean problems that are specific to the C# implementation of Godot, none really. It works pretty much as intended. But we're just finishing up a query system. So the query system is the thing that will return to our systems a hook that they can use to get all of the entities that match what they want to operate on, and only what they want to operate on. And so we're just expanding the capability of that. The previous version of the query was able to query for things, but we weren't able to accept things from it. We weren't able to say, give me all the components with a position but not a direction. So we're adding that but not part. Marshalling issues, that is a thing. So I'm getting around that by basically not calling into the Godot engine from C#. I have a single node that is coded in C#. That is the base node, like kind of a sort of root node. And this is called game. I just call it game. Yeah, so I don't call the Godot API from C#. Pretty much. We might do it a little bit right at the end of the frame. when we're synchronizing. But basically, the C# world is the game simulation layer, and Godot, the Godot API handles the rendering and the UI and stuff. So we basically, all we do is we get input from the Godot side, process all of the simulation step, and then just synchronize the stuff in the scene tree. So we are almost never, excuse me, we are very rarely calling the Godot API from C#, and that's how we're getting around that. Top 5 games, all time or like recently, last 20 years. You got to be more specific with me. All right, I want to think through this component order dictionary. So this is a way where we can say, we can basically figure out where the component flag is in our list, in our array of chunks that we're getting back. It's basically a way of figuring that out. I think we'll end up just basically using this query builder pattern. All time. Okay, top 5 games all time. Huh. My top 5 games of all time. That's a good one. That's tough. That's tough. Uh, Probably we've got like probably like Half-Life 2, which was like my favorite single player game of like the last 20 years. Subnautica, which is like my new favorite single player game of like since, in the last 20 years, since Half-Life 2. Uh, it's really tough because there's games that I've played a lot of. I just opened Steam. I probably shouldn't do that. I don't know. There's games that I play a lot of that I wouldn't put in my top list, and there's games that I haven't played much of that have influenced me like significantly. So it's kind of tough. Probably the most influential games for me would probably be things like FTL, FTL Faster Than Light. Probably like Cosmeteer has been one I've been playing a lot lately. And Valheim, I've been playing with my friends a ton. I played a lot of Valheim. I don't know. I'll go with those arbitrarily. Without thinking of it too much, I'll just say Half-Life 2, Subnautica, FTL. I don't actually know if I'd put Cosmeteer in my top 5, but I'm playing it the most right now. I'm playing it more than any other game. So right now it's in my top 5. And what did I say the last one? Valheim? Yeah, FTL, I mean, that's what we're doing here. We're trying to make an FTL-like game. So, am I more of an ARPG guy or a JRPG guy? I don't play either very often, but I'm more of an ARPG. I've realized recently when I tried to play Baldur's Gate that while I kind of like turn-based strategy games, if I'm playing an RPG, I want it to be real time. I would just like put me in the action. I don't want to plan out my inventory and like go through my spell lists and like I've played Dungeons and Dragons, and that's great, but yeah, I've realized I don't play RPGs really anymore. I don't know why. But two, when I do, it needs to be like an action-oriented RPG. I don't want a turn-based thing. Top five animes. Man, you're just asking me all the basic questions, huh? Um, I can't. I don't have top animes. Right now, I'm watching Delicious in Dungeon. That's my favorite anime right now. I'm watching it, slowly making my way through it with my partner on like Sunday mornings. That's our like Sunday chill and watch a show together show right now. Is Delicious in Dungeon. Love that show so much. Um, Way of the House Husband. It's probably my one of my favorites. I love Way of the House Husband. That one's great. Space Dandy. Then it's probably whatever. Space Dandy, Cowboy Bebop. I can't think of a fifth one. I don't really watch anime. Um, have I tried Path of Exile 2? No, but I really want to. I've been watching people play it. I don't know why everyone started playing it. Did it come out? I feel like, but I really want to play some Path of Exile 2. I'm a little afraid of what'll happen to my free time if I do that, but I do really want to play that. Hey Fox, getting in on this top five whatever, huh? I feel like this is the best way to like troll a game dev on YouTube or Twitch to get them to stop doing things. Is just keep asking them to list stuff and like publicly endorse things. Who are my top five favorite indie game devs? That is a good question. That's like chef's kiss question there. Top five favorite indie game devs. Um, Obviously, Concerned Ape, creator of Stardew Valley. Incredible. That's an easy one. Um, Matthew Davis and shoot. Oh, Justin Ma. Matthew Davis and Justin Ma of Subset Games. I don't know if you want to count that as one or two. Subset Games are the makers of FTL and Into the Breach. And then probably Zach and Tarn Adams, which again, I don't know if you want to count those as one or two. Those are the makers of Dwarf Fortress. Assuming we count those as single individual choices because they're game devs. Uh, Walt Dressler. I'm not 100% on their last name. They're the maker of Cosmeteer. Super inspiring. I've gotten to meet him. Super cool guy. Uh, and like, let's say one more. Hey, Matthew Sparks. Happy Tuesday. We're being derailed by some questions here. You love the ICO team that inspired the current leaders and directors of Top Games last 10 years. Yeah, Eco, it was hugely influential for sure. And then I don't know who else. I'm sure there's somebody. I don't know. I named like six people, so that's probably enough. Gustavo, what is the use of this query system? So we have an entity component system, and the query system is the thing that lets the systems iterate over only the entities that they need to iterate over. And I kind of did a hacky implementation of one last night, and I'm not happy with it, so we're kind of refactoring it. Trying to figure out a way if we can do this without this component order thing, or if we can do this in such a way that we don't need to store this on the query result. I feel like we have to, which is fine because we don't directly access the query very often. I think we will just ultimately have a query builder, a query description, and a query result. We can get rid of the idea of the query builder though. Still working on ECS. Last I checked in, you were deep in that. Are we elsewhere? Yeah, we're almost done. We're almost done, Matthew. We've spent about a month on ECS. Fox, why weren't I on the list? Oh, so you were just fishing. You were just fishing is what you were doing. Randy. Randy's the fifth name. You jogged my memory. Randy's great. You're up there. You're up. If you'd asked me what my favorite list of YouTube game devs were, you might have been on that list, Fox. You might have been on that list, but you didn't ask that. You didn't ask that question. Oh, Nano rated me. Hey, Nano, how's it going? Sorry I didn't catch that. I don't have my audio anymore, so I don't hear the like klaxons, the raid klaxons. How was your stream? Randy is the undisputed content king for game dev on YouTube. Yeah, that's 100% true. Or for a video chronology of a young man losing his mind. Yeah. All right. So this is our query description. We're gonna store something like this. Maybe the query builder exists, and we're just gonna handle everything inside this query class. So this is not gonna be a class. This is gonna be a struct. So we're gonna have like a query for. You'll pass in. It's gonna return a query description. I want a better syntax when we're building out these queries. I basically want a for, and then I also want a public static query description without. Oops. So we can specify for and without. And I want to be able to do this in any order, so we're going to have two of these. So we're going to have a version that takes a component set, and we're going to have a version that takes a query description. So that we can build them off of each other. How's everyone doing, though? A bunch of people hopped in this morning. Then this one also will take a description instead of a list of components. This way I can do it in whatever order. It's unlikely that you would call for, or you'd call without and then for. So maybe without has to take a query description. So maybe we just enforce this. So we can query for a set of components, and we can specify without this. This isn't great, actually. I guess this isn't what we want to do. Maybe we say, maybe we pass in, maybe we return a query builder with 4, and then we pass it, and then we return a query description without. And then we would put without on here, wouldn't we? This is really stupid how I'm structuring this. I just want to be able to say query for these without these, and I want this part to be optional. So it would actually include this. Mr. Woot, I'm guessing you've answered this before, but why C# versus GDScript? Yeah, sure. I'm happy to dig into that, Mr. Woot. Gustavo just got here. We'll follow the project for a little bit. Do you stream every day? Yeah, Tuesdays through Fridays. Oh, Tuesdays through Saturdays, pretty much, around this time. We just started. We'll probably go for 3 hours, depending. Yeah, we're working on an isometric FTL-like in Godot. Mr. Woot, why C# versus GDScript? So we're still using GDScript. We're using GDScript for our nodes, for pretty much anything that's node-based, like Node 2D, like sprites and stuff, or control, like UI nodes. We're still using GDScript for those. We're using GDScript for anything in the scene tree that interacts directly with the Godot API. But what we're doing is we want to simulate a bunch of stuff off screen without having it be in the scene tree. So we're separating our whole game data stack. We're putting it off into C# land. So we're basically handling all of the game data in C# in an entity component system that we've written from scratch here, so that we can operate on, you know, entities that are more lightweight than everything needing to be backed by like a node or a resource or something like that. Or even an object. So we're kind of mixing and matching. We're just deep in the C# part of it right now. We're finishing up our entity query system. So the query, you can say query for this. This without is not going to be here. Maybe it will. Maybe we move the query builder stuff into here. Well, the query builder could be a struct. Let's just move this stuff over here. We don't need to return new query. We do need these properties though. Why don't I have to have these properties here listed? I wrote this wrong. I wrote this last night in like a flurry. So we need to add these properties. Maybe they don't need to be public. Well, the query description include. Oh, they belong to the query. So we can use these. We should move the static ones up here above the regular ones. So we can say, so public static query So we can say query 4 and we'll get a query back. So we can say return new query. We need to say query description. Well, we're not going to pass this set of descriptions, are we? Oh yeah, we are. Okay, so query description, call this description. Now we can call it query disk. Yeah, let's call it description. Description's a long ass word. But I kind of hate shortening words sometimes. Especially if it doesn't matter. So we're going to return a new query with a description here. Say return a new query. We're going to say includes equals it's a new components. It's a new composition. So we're querying for a new composition that consists of components. Oh, we're going to say, no, we need to say description is a new we'll just pass in a new. We won't pass anything in. Say variable query is new query. It's a little silly the way I'm doing this. So we do want to have some of these checks, these query description checks. But we only want those when we're passing both of these in. When we call for a new query description. Okay. So we just need multiple constructors. Let's make an explicit constructor. Let's also make a parameterless constructor. Can I have the parameterless constructor be the primary constructor? Is it not happy with that? We'd say description equals description. So this way I can call it with parameterless constructor, and I can also pass it a description if I want. Otherwise, it'll just be new. Okay, that should be fine. And then when we ask for, we're saying we have this query for, we just say, give us a new query. And then the thing is, I want to be able to add a component. I want to add something to this here. We have invalid or undefined as this here. I kind of like invalid because that's what it is. But I kind of want to change it to undefined. You shouldn't normally have, if you're using a bit field, you should not define a 0 flag, but we're doing it for reasons. Say undefined. So we can say new query. You can give it a new query description. And I kind of want to make those static implicit operators here. Since there's only one field, can I do that? I feel like I can. Like we can take these, make it a little easier to build compositions. We just say component type dot flags. This way we can just cast between them really easily. We say component, or we say composition. Oops. I don't love calling these flags. I feel like I should call them components. Might go back and change flag to be component. So I like to talk about what we're actually doing, not what not just the implementation detail of like this is a component flag instead of a component type. All right, and then here we're going to say composition component type dot flags components. Yeah, that should be fine. That should let us do some stuff here. Should make it easier to build components. So I should here be able to basically say kind of want a query description that only takes an includes. I don't need to define these, do I? I can just let them be. They'll just have the default. They'll just have the yeah, that's fine. So we can get rid of this, make this the primary constructor. This just needs to say this. So here's one that has an includes. Here's one that has an includes and an excludes. Actually, we can say excludes. So if we have one that just has an excludes, can we say public query description? We can't have optional parameters here because I just don't think we can. Because if I want to do an optional parameter, I need to say like component flags dot or component type dot flags dot undefined. And this isn't compile time constant. Oh, we would need to say composition. Yeah, compile time constant. So we can't do that. So I'd rather just have a number of constructors. So for an excludes, so for one that excludes, we'd say excludes is excludes, and we'd say includes. Well, wait, hold on. We can do a with. We can do something else for this, I think. Let's see if we can do this. So we'll only pass the includes, but we want to check this. We want to do a check for this at least. We don't need to do the other check. Probably ask, but how's everyone doing? How are your projects doing? I know we're like heading into the high holidays here, where it's like impossible to get anything done. All right, let's see what we ended up doing for ourselves here. See how we ended up messing with this. So if we say query for, we just say we want to query for these component types. We want to say, we basically want to just return, we want to return a new query. We want to return a new query with basically composition components. Do you not take a composition? I thought you took a composition. Yeah, you do. Do I maybe not understand how the parameter list default constructor works? Or primary constructor? Or wait, maybe I need to say, oh, the query takes a description. Oops. You need to say new query description. Okay, that works. Can I make this implicit? Is that bad? I know this is supposed to be explicit because it's like, I actually don't understand why it's supposed to be explicit. There's a reason why, like implicit versus explicit. It's something to do with casting, like when you would want to implicit versus explicit casting, C#. When to use. There's like a rule, and I generally try to respect the rules. Predefined C# implicit conversions always succeed and never throw an exception. User-defined implicit conversion should behave in that way as well. If a custom conversion can throw an exception or lose information, define it as an explicit conversion. Oh, yeah, this is super implicit. This will always succeed. Yeah, this will always succeed, even if it's empty. We have a simple check if it's empty. Oh, why did I make all these explicit? What's wrong with me? Let's go find our direction. These always succeed and they don't lose any information. What am I doing out here? Yeah, okay, so I can just pass in the components and it will make a composition on the fly. I like that. Hey, Aragon. I love that emote. The Goose of Chaos. The arch Goose of Chaos. That's so good. How are you doing? Twitch recap is out. I know. I watched mine. You're on my top 6 chatters. So cheers. You're in the upper left spot. I don't know if that means you're like the most, or it's like arbitrary listing within the top 6. So grats. Oh, okay, okay, no. So you probably are my most watched chatter. Well, I appreciate that. I don't always get to watch you because of my work schedule, but I need to put in about more effort. 234 hours watched. I feel like you could be making this game then. What am I doing? That's half of my uptime, or actually that's more. I think I was told I streamed like 400 hours at most this year so far. So you've watched more than like half of my streams. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for being such a pillar of the community. No worries. I want people to be able to lurk. I'm okay. I'm okay just streaming like nobody's watching. Hydrate. Thank you. I think I just had a glass of water, but I'll have another. I saw you mostly been making slimes. You kind of just chilling with school right now, being so busy. Practical's your number one. That's fair. I think my number one, I think for me, I'm kind of up there in terms of like, I watched Two Nerdy Nerds, Taboogie, Sorcery Story, Practical, probably Pirate Software. I just have that him on in the background a lot. You Practical number one and then Impractical number two. That's funny. It's funny. Impracticla. I'm not familiar with who that is. Yeah, you're trying to finish them all before you move on to something else smart. All right, so how are we doing this? So can't really. Maybe we need to do it like this. Uh, Maybe we need to say composition, and then we say bool inclusive. Inclusive. Oops. We could say if inclusive and includes and composition includes equals concludes. Oh, this needs to be. And make this an else, I guess. An if else. $128 hours here. Hey, Moth. Appreciate that. On your channel, you sent the most used emote has 235 uses. Most used has 4,628. Second most, you can't type it. Oh, 4,000. That's wild. My most used emote is definitely my little ships, but I'm still in like the low hundreds. Like. Oh yeah, it's that one. That's fun. Oh well, because that one triggers your fishing thing. Yeah, everyone's catching slimes. Okay, for sure. All right, so if this query description is inclusive and the composition.getComponentCount's greater than 0, we'll do the thing. Otherwise, we're going to throw an exception. Or actually, we need to have this be a little different. We're going to do this. This is a little stupid, but I feel like I kind of want to do this. Then we'll throw this exception. Otherwise, we'll assign the composition to include. Get this out of here. So if it's inclusive, that's great. All right, we've got some ads. I'm going to power through them. Should I make it inclusive by default? Yeah, I think so. We'll have this. I'm kind of presuming that we're going to specify what we want before what we don't want, which is like kind of lazy. But I think I'm going to structure it in such a way that that has to be the case. This way I can just have one of these, and I can do them iteratively. I think this is okay. I think this is a little stupid, but I think it's okay. The question is this like our primary constructor now? Like, do we want to be able to call an empty query description? Probably not. So we would say return new query. So we send a new query with a new query description for components. So we create a new query with this, and then we basically say, so then this one's not going to be static. I mean, it could be, I guess. Where do we put the without is my question. Without. Does that happen on this? No. So I think we're going to have without, but it's not going to be static. So the without's going to presume that we have a query. And we're going to say return description dot This is a little stupid. Maybe we don't do it like this. What happens when we do the struct with thing? Struct with. C# with. There's a cool thing you can do with structs now where you do something with something. I want to know how that works. Yeah, how does this work? The non-destructive mutation. You can use the with expression to produce a copy of a structure-like instance with the specified properties and fields modified. You use object initializer syntax to specify what members to modify and their new values, as the following example shows. So, what does this do? Does this call the constructor? What exactly does with do? Because if this is how this works, we can actually take advantage of this maybe a little bit. Capitos, hello. How's it going? Oh, we use object initializer syntax. That's the wrong thing. We want to look at the with expression. How does this work under the hood? The result of a with expression has the same runtime type as the expression's operand, as the following example shows. Yeah, that makes sense. Public record. So here's your primary constructor, name x, y, and then when we make it, we say p2 equals p1 with name b equals b, x equals 5. And the y carries over. Maybe this is the way to do it. Because this is kind of horrible. I kind of don't love this. So instead, we could have includes. We can have excludes. I guess we just go back to what we had before, huh? We do it like this. So we could just say, so here we return a new query with a new query description of components. And then when we do without, we take in, so without these, we say return new query. Well, we return description with excludes equals components. Yeah, that's fine. So the first, when we say query.for, we create a new query, and we set the composition to be this set of components. And then when we call, if we call without on that query that we just made, that we had returned, we get back a description. Well, here's the problem. What if you just, we can't return a query description. We have to return the query again. We need to say return we need to say description equals description with. This only settable by init in it. Oh, we say this dot. This only settable with init. Give it a private set. Oh, it already is private. Okay, that should give us the safety here. Should get us pretty much everything we want. Then we return this. Okay, we're cooking. We're cooking. I don't use these. I wrote this in a way so that we could add and remove things. But I think you're just going to create, I think you have to expect, we have to expect that we create the query up front and then never again. Okay, so we don't have a, we only have this constructor here. Can we just set this to be a primary constructor? No, can we not? There we go. Easy. This is super lightweight still. We just have a for and a without. And we need to do it this way because the without is optional. The for is required. So now when we're in our system here, sometimes a bunch of my files get closed and I feel like I didn't do it, but I'm sure I did. Okay, so when we say, so what we're gonna do here, when we say gameworld.getQuery, should I be dumb and change this to like inquire? I think that's like really stupid. I think we should call it like get query result. And then you would say something like, I think you'd pass in something like this. I think, well, maybe you'd say something like move query equals query dot for, and then you would specify what you want, and then you would say dot without, and then you'd specify what you want. So we'd say query for, and we'd say basically this. Why are you upset? Oh, query. So you'd basically this. So you'd do this. You would query for all this stuff. And you could say query for, and you could say dot without, and then you could specify another set of components. You could say like, I don't know, we don't have any other components, but we could say we want these, but not this. Weird that it does this here. Okay, that's nice and simple. I think we're happy with that. So the only thing is this, like, we can't just keep, I didn't say it like, I didn't say this, which it could have been this. It could have been like query for blank, and then you'd say with. Excuse me. So sorry. Maybe we do say it like this, dot query dot for. Because we do want to presume a particular thing. So I don't necessarily want to have this entity ID thing here. I feel like that's maybe we say this, maybe we call this for entities. Query dot for entities dot with. That's English. That's more like flows off the tongue a little bit. You say query for entities with this and without. If we say query dot get entities dot with and dot without, if we say this, because then we can get rid of the entity ID, because the entity ID is required. We're always going to query for entity ID. Maybe we say like query dot get all entities dot with. I guess all is implied. The thing we're not implementing are more advanced features like dot with any versus with all. We can't really accommodate a with any request. And I'm not sure if I want my systems to handle that anyway, because with any means like if you say with any ABC, and like you might have entities that come back with A, AB, C, BC, AC. And then the system needs to like operate on them differently depending on which of those it has. And it's like, shouldn't those be separate iterations then most of the time? Because you're just going to have a bunch of conditionals that are like, oh, this entity supports this. So I don't think we're going to do that. So maybe we do it like this: .query .get entities .with. This lets you just say get entities, and this would give you a list of all entities. And then you could say get entities without, because then you maybe don't care what the entity has as long as it doesn't have this. So yeah, I guess that is more flexible. So let's do that. Let's implement that. So we're going to have a query. So we're going to have a public static query get entities. That is going to take no parameters. And it's going to be a new query description with component type dot flags dot entity ID. Okay, this is good. So we do this. And then this is no longer static. And this is called with. So you say get entities, and this gives you back a query. And then you can use that query. You can modify that query like this, like so. Why do you make this static? Oh, because you're saying return new. That's wrong. How does the with syntax work with reference types? In the case of a reference type member, only the reference to a member instance is copied when an operand is copied. Both the copy and the original operand have access to the same reference type instance. Following example demonstrates the behavior. Oh, that's trash. We would never use that. So we upgrade the description and then we return. Okay, this isn't the best, but it's, I think, great for what we're trying to do. Does it need to be a class? Not really. Whatever. I guess it's fine right now. Kind of never made a query system before, so we're kind of just having fun. This is cool though, so we can move query as query.getEntities.with that dot without this. I like pushed a hint. All right, so that's fine. And then so this thing, so this is not sufficient here. Unless we give them a query and we get a result. Maybe we give them a query and we get back the result. So we say something like private query result. I mean, why don't we just return the result? The result doesn't care about what components we exclude. It only cares what we end up with. So maybe we don't do it that way. Maybe we just use this query result that we have as is. Do you really need a copy of your description? I feel like no. Is anyone using this? No. Query builder we don't use at all anymore. I can just chuck this, right? Yeah. What if we subclass these? Refactor. No, not that. Huh, it's weird that that's not why this doesn't work. You really need to, this is like a subclass. Do you really need to do it this way? What if we get rid of this? Query has a description. I think this is fine to subclass this like this. And we're also going to have a result. I mean, maybe we call this the query builder. Maybe we don't do it like this. I'll use a query builder. Unless we're gonna figure out a way to have it be the same query from end to end, I'd rather just have three separate things. I know I just deleted the other query builder. Keep waffling between fully typing out query description or shortening it to query desk. I could also call it criteria. I don't like that better. All right, so we're gonna have a query builder, a query criteria, and a query result. All right, that's fine. So here on our move system, we would say query builder dot get entities with what? With this and without this. Yeah, I like this. This is okay. So query builder dot get entities with whatever components we want, and without whatever components we want. Optionally, you can get rid of the without. And even just get entities is technically correct. It will give you literally every entity, but it's technically correct. So that's cool. Move. Call this entities to move. And this would be a query result. And so you would say entities to move. You would do this. You would say game.world.getQuery, or you could say game.world.query Let's say that. Because get query is like not the correct way to think about it. So instead of get query, it would be just query. And you would pass in a query criteria. And whatever, we'll fix this later. So query results has this archetype equals gameworld.register query. This we maybe need to think about. Query result does not need to know about its criteria. It only needs its composition. Maybe we can get component order and not store it on the query result. No, we probably should store it on the query result. A query result is a long-lived thing. It's fine if it's a class. It's only going to be used by the system that owns it. It's not going to be used all the time. You'll get it once. A frame should be fine. Oh, Goofball Guinness, I missed your follow. I'm sorry. Ever since I took my headphones off, I'm having a harder time noticing the things happening. Maybe I need some visual screen overlay thing. Or maybe I need something in the chat. Maybe this is a job for StreamerBot. Because I'm better at noticing the chat than I am at noticing the activity feed. All right. So our query builder, we do all of this stuff. It's great. You pass in the query builder, not the query builder. We need to have a well, this isn't going to be static. Let's have a public query criteria, get criteria. So the move system will say something like entities to move. So we'll say gameworld.query, and then this is where we define our query builder. We'd say query builder dot get entities. Thought I stopped this from doing this. Oh, you need to take a criteria. Actually, let's just have a static implicit operator. Where I don't know where you order those relative to anything else. Do I need to have this? This ends up just having like a backing field. Oh. Guess it's better if it does. I feel like I should put this stuff here. So we'd say private implicit, private static implicit operator, query criteria, query builder is query builder dot, oops, query builder. How does this work? Oh, it's one of these deals. It's an arrow. Query builder dot criteria. Oh, this isn't supposed to be used for classes. This doesn't need to be a class. We would say, so instead we'd say return criteria, or we'd say return this with criteria. Why am I trying to do it this way? Just so I can kind of easily change between. We could say this. I'm doing this really stupidly, but I'm kind of into this. I'm kind of into what we're about to do here. We're just making it really easy to go back and forth between the criteria and the builder. Which almost makes you wonder why we need the builder at all. Which is a good question. This is stupid, but now we can basically say return criteria with includes. Like we can just make this a one-line thing. And I think that's kind of fancy. Kind of into that. So we can just go back and forth between the builder and the criteria, just like very easily. Do we care about things like equals or get hashtag or anything? Why can't I just turn this into an expression body? Why is this not exactly the same as the other one? Oh, it is. There we go. Yeah, that's so clean. I love that. Now we don't even need this return new query builder. We just say return. Say return new query criteria. Make this an expression body too. I'm on a real power trip. Just making so many one-liners. This is like not the most efficient thing, but yeah, it tickles me. So we're gonna stick with this for now. Excuse me, big sneeze here. All right, all right, all right. So now when we do this, we just say gameworld.query, querybuilder.getEntities. We can say criteria is querybuilder.getEntities. We can say dot with component type dot flags dot position dot without component type dot flags dot direction. I mean, this is nonsensical, but kind of dig it. So let's add these to the query builder just in case. So we'll say equals query builder other. We'll just say query criteria dot equals other. And let's say criteria dot get hash code. Actually, we're going to say criteria dot equals other criteria dot get hash code. Because to us, a query builder and a query criteria are like indistinguishable, which is stupid. I should make this a single thing. I want to figure out how I can represent all of this with a single thing, but we do need the description or the criteria to be separate from the result. It does mean we can take a well, no, we can't really, can we? We don't really have the functionality to take a criteria and modify it. We don't have like add component or remove component, which is fine. That's not really how we're using queries. Queries are going to be fairly static. Our needs aren't really going to change, or we're not going to really transform the query over time. Oh, we can say query builder. Pass in this. Can we not? Can we not do that? Oh, maybe we return this. Maybe we return query criteria. I guess a query criteria and a query builder are identical. Guess we're kind of being stupid. How are we doing this? Kind of maybe having too much fun. Let's grab all this stuff. Throw this in here. So why is the properties below the functions? Oh no, these are constructors. That's why. I just need to add the stuff from here, minus this implicit operator stuff. Well, no, we do need to add that as well, don't we? Add this whole thing. Queries probably, or constructors probably before static functions. All right, we're just smashing the query criteria and the query builder together because it's apparent to me that they're exactly the same thing, and there is no distinguishing them meaningfully. We just say this with includes equals component. Okay, that's pretty dope. And so here we can also say this with excludes equals components. Oh, this should be below the properties. Oh, what did I do? We're going to call this for entities instead of get entities. We're going to say query for entities. Replace that with this. All right, so we can get rid of these things. We can get rid of the builder and the criteria. So now it's just query for entities. I wish this lined up. I wish this was like this. That'd be pretty great. but query seems to, hey, be one letter too long. Fine. So we can go back here and we can say private move query. We can say private query, move query. We can say move query equals query dot for entities dot with flags dot position using static. Well, no, I don't want to do that. Say dot with position dot without direction. See, we can say this sort of thing. If it needs to be longer, we can make it longer. There we go. This is good enough. So move query is query dot for entities. Why is this underlined? What does that mean? Import static members. Oh, we could do that. Move query equals for entity. No, I don't love that. I like this. Query for entities. Query for entities with this component, without this component. That's done. And then you should just be able to say game.world.query. And then you could say move query. Pass that query in there. And it will give us a query result. I'm not happy with the query result as a thing, but let's get it working as is. And then what do we need to do here? Okay, so it would be this entities to move. Or chunk. Or chunks. I feel like I told this to like calm down. Change visibility for implicitly typed variables. Show always. Yeah, I guess for implicitly typed variables, that's fine. Well, I don't know. No, I actually just I want to go, I like this, here, let me go configure this. Enable inlay hints and dot languages. Yeah, reserve press and hold of the control key for, yeah, that's good. And then we're going to do push to hint. We're switching to this. Save for the solution. And that affects this? No, that affects me per user? No, it should be on here now. General inlay hints, push to show hints. Yeah, okay. So query gives us a query result. So back here on world, we're going to have, let's start up here. So we have queries by archetype. This can be queries or query results. It's probably be query results. Hmm. All right, so these are queries. But here's this. So instead of query by composition, how do we track these? Query by composition is a weird beast. Where are we using this? Actually, let's go through the process. Let's go through the process from query. So here we have query result, query criteria. That's not right. So we just say query. Query, so we get our query. Excuse me. Instead of query by composition, we call this something like read only, private, read only, dictionary, query. So we have a query and we get a query result. And this would be something like query results. Maybe a query result map. I don't know, maybe query results is fine. So we take our query results. We try to get the value for this query, and we try to get a result. It's an explicit type here. We either return the result or we get query result for this query. So get query result doesn't exist. Currently it's create query, which is not right from a language standpoint. Get query result. So what we would want, we'd have query. So what do we do here? We get this thing called a query. So we have this composition. So we need to go through, so we need to say for each component in query, dot includes. Here's the complicated part. So we need to get all of the component types. So we add this query here. Okay. So for each component in query.includes, we add this query. I think get query result. Oh yeah, it is private. Okay, good. I was like, I feel like this should be private. Well, we need now. We need to return a query result. There's like, it's like now paint the whole owl or whatever. Draw the whole fucking owl. That's the phase that we're at here. So we get the query result. We just return a new query result. And how do we initialize a query result? Oh, there's this archetype dot gameworld dot register query. We should look at this register query. We should decide what we want to do here. Yeah, I feel like it's suspicious doing this doing this call in the constructor for the query result. This feels bad, man. Especially since we're creating this thing here. So maybe register query just gets us the query result. Maybe we can make this one function. The register query, oh, it makes a list of archetypes. Curious. Maybe we just do, let's see this. If we turn this into like get archetypes, maybe we make this private. We get rid of this query by composition line. So we do that, and we say, we also say if archetypes dot includes any of query dot excludes, we also continue. So if it doesn't have any of the components that are to be included, or it has any of the components that are to be excluded, archetype dot includes. So if not archetype dot includes, if archetype dot includes, and if archetypes dot contains this archetype, so if we've already gone through this archetype, we continue. So we continue under many cases. Otherwise, we add the query to the queries by archetype, and we add the archetype to the list of archetypes. Okay, so this is good. What's this? For each archetype in archetypes by component value. Oh, right. So these are all the archetypes that relate to this component. Okay, so this is good. Let's move this function up into the private functions area. Way up at the top because it's very high alphabetically here. I'm really not doing like the Uncle Bob style of listing my functions in a way that you can like read a book where you like I kind of just list them by what they kind of are, and then within that I list them alphabetically. It's like kind of bad. But it also means I can scroll up and generally find what I'm looking for very quickly. So I don't know. I don't know what people prefer. I tend to take the word of Uncle Bob with a huge grain of salt. He's a smart guy, but I'm like a solo dev, so like I don't know how much I care. How is this never used? There's a concern here of like a possible nullable archetype. Should never come up. Hold on, I gotta stretch. I just do this everywhere. All right, so create archetype. Here's some interesting things. Okay, so here we can do that. So we'll for each. Okay, so we do need this queries by components type thing. I don't know about this queries by composition. Don't think we're going to use that. Instinctively put my headphones back on. Don't get them. Sorry, I stopped taking my allergy meds when like it's deep winter, but I think I need to keep taking them. I think I'm allergic to the dust that's accumulating, which I need to do something about. My computer's brand new and is getting pretty dusty. I bought some new fans and dust filters. We're gonna hook them up, try to create a positive pressure air system this weekend. Try to protect my computer here. So I leave it on almost all day, every day. So if I can create a positive pressure system, I should be able to control the amount of dust going into the computer pretty easily. All right, so create archetype. Here's the caching mechanism, and this we need to adjust, I think. So for each, we're just calling this component. Oops. Query.archetypes.add. This is not what we want. But this is what allows us to do it's actually the query result. Oh, okay. So we would actually say query results query dot archetypes dot add. There we go. Okay, well here's a good reason why query result is a class. Why is this to public? Are we using this somewhere? It's never updated. That's what you're complaining about. And queries. So queries is a list of queries. We add the query. Okay, so we need to do this. We need to do the full cat check here. So we also need to say if archetype dot includes query dot excludes. How are you able to just take a query for this purpose? Can the archetype just take a query? Where's the archetype includes? Oh, the the excludes bool just returns false always. Oops, I didn't finish implementing that, I think, last night. So the includes says for each component in composition, if not composition has component return false. Here we're basically going to do the opposite. Oopsies. I love when I implement a function and just like return something. I need to like return. I need to have the not implemented exception. Just keep that around for a little longer. So we're going to say if if composition has component, we return false. Otherwise, we return true. Oh, I have this function that just takes a query. Maybe we should have something like that, but that's just matches. Public bool matches query. Where do we use this? We use this a bunch of places. We use this with archetype. So maybe we make these private. These could be shorter. I can move them up here. Yeah, we're gonna have matches, and matches is gonna basically say return. It's gonna basically be an expression body. And it's just gonna be you return includes query dot includes. If includes already take that? No, includes takes composition. These just take. These aren't used anywhere else. I guess we could pass in a query. Okay, easy. So now we can, so matches is just, do we include, so do we, so does this archetype includes, if this archetype includes query, this is really stupid how I phrased this. Maybe we just do it like this. Maybe we can do this with, oh no. Maybe we can do one loop instead of doing two loops. Maybe we can say for each component type in composition. So for each of our components, we can just say if query dot. Oh no, we need to check. We need to check all of the query Yeah, we need to do this a different way. Okay, it's a little awkward doing it this way, but this is fine. So if it includes the query, if it both includes, this is where it's weird, and excludes. I don't love that. Actually, let's just do this as a single thing. I know it's 2 loops, but let's at least include it as a single function. We'll check the excludes first, because this saves us some effort. Rather than assessing them both, we can just, or rather than assessing them separately, we'll assess them together, and if any of them are wrong, then we just reject it. So we'll check to see. So we'll first check to see if we include any of the components that we're supposed to exclude, and then we'll check the other. So let's not include this. I feel like I might use that archetype.includes somewhere. We'll find out. Easy to re-implement if we do. Print component values is pretty gross. Still want to find a better chunk addressing system. So if we make it through all of that, then we can return true. Maybe we should call it matches query and then pass in the query. So archetype is a query match. I don't know. We're going to call it satisfies. That's really stupid, but I think that's funny to me. If the archetype satisfies the query, I think that's good. I mean, not in terms of naming, but I think it's funny, and it accurately describes what we're talking about. I should start splitting this up more in terms of functionality and like use code regions or something like that, because these are starting to get pretty chunky. All right, so here we would say, so we'll just say if archetype, so we'd say if not archetype dot satisfies the query, then we continue. Maybe we do check this first. If we've already processed this query, then we don't even need to check the archetype. Yeah, let's do that. Otherwise, we'll add this archetype. We just do this at the end. No. Or can we? Can you add a list to an array to a list? Oh, we aren't recording the archetypes in a list. I see. I feel like that's better. Yeah, let's track them. Oh wait, no, we're not adding a list. We're just adding a single archetype. We're adding a specific archetype to a bunch of queries. Ah, no, this structure is correct then. All right, this allows us to cache our queries, so we don't have to store them a bunch of times. We don't need to update them. We update them when we create a new archetype, so the query results are cached and kept up to date. I guess is the important thing. To me, that just is part of caching it, is just like keeping it up to date. But I guess that's not actually implied. All right, so we change this as well. So we've already processed this archetype. Let's not check it at all. If not, let's say not archetypes. Okay, so if we don't satisfy the query, we continue. So we've already processed this archetype. We do this. Okay, so this get archetypes is crucial to creating a query. So let's go back down. Okay, so get query result. This is our internal function. So we return a new query result. So this is we get rid of this register query concept. So we have a composition and we need a list of archetypes. I guess this is 100% a class. It has a list of archetypes. It has a list of components. What are these doing up here? I guess they were private until like a minute ago. Let's make them public here. I could conceivably call query a query search. But query already means search. Maybe I have a namespace called query and I put search and result. Kind of stupid, but I kind of like it. Should I save a copy of the search with the result? That's probably a good thing to do. Do I use this composition all the time? Maybe I pass it in. Say archetypes equals archetypes. We can say component order equals search dot includes. Actually, we can do that better than this. We can say composition equals. Actually, yeah, let's pass that in. Let's just. Maybe at some point I need to go back and check what a search includes, but for now, I don't think I need to do that. So this is used publicly. Why are you suggesting that this property is private? This needs to be public. Say using static di.ecs.query. Oh, we just say using di.ecs.query. We're listing the queries here, but we could probably just list the results, huh? would I convert this to a primary constructor? Oh, because I just can. Okay. So it says we're not setting archetypes anymore, probably because I broke a bunch of stuff. All right, I'm still not pleased with how I've constructed these queries. Probably going to keep working on them. I don't want to make this monster that's like contains both a search and a result. We could definitely be done with this already, but I'm just having kind of obsessing over this. I want to when we're done with ECS, I want to be done. I want to be done with the ECS. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to touch it. So I'm okay spending a few more days just wrapping it up. Just so that when we let go and we go move somewhere else, we're just thanks, Smooth. My partner's like, how many more times are you going to say the word chunk? And I'm like, I'm done. I'm done saying chunk. We're done with chunks. We're never going to chunk again. As God is my witness. That's not true. Eventually, we'll probably switch to unmanaged memory. So I want to make this query class. So basically you create a query, you define the search, the parameters, and you get back a result. So we're going to have we're going to define a struct within here called params. It's going to basically just be the result, the search class. We're going to move out most of these functions. So this is going to be query dot for entities, query dot with, query dot without. So we can move these outside. This is going to be the description of the query. Actually, no, your default construction is going to be blank, right? Because that's how search works. Oh no, so search requires this. Did I put these in here? Yeah, I did. Okay. Oh, so these are part of the params. Oh, so a query needs to be constructed with params. So weird. So params is like a subclass of our query class. Like, why can we not just say params? Can you just say this? Like, why do we need to? I mean, it's not a subclass because it's a struct, I guess, but it's like it lives inside the query. Guess we could say using di.ecs.query. Using static. Oh, we have a namespace that's the same as the query. That's not good. Yo, hey, physics. How's it going? How's the time travel gaming coming along? Smooth says, sounds like something Mariner would say in lower decks. Params. Yeah, it does. I think the new episode of that is dropping soon. I can't wait. I'm sad that there are only 2 episodes left. It's like the best Star Trek show that ever existed. Lower Decks. Physics, it's going good. We're taking a little bit more time to wrap up our query system than we need to, but we're having a system that can handle inclusions and exclusions. So we're having some fun with it. Ambiguous reference. Get rid of that. or get rid of this. Get rid of this. So we're kind of in a weird place where we're like changing a lot. So I guess I need a constructor or something. Just a little annoyed that I can't just have this be params. Can I say this now? Yeah, okay, so I just need to import the static. That's really stupid that I have to import my own class within the class so that I can use, so I can just say params without having to say query params. So we will have, I guess all this info can be public. We don't really care. So we'll have public params, params, and we'll have public result, result. We don't have result. Maybe we don't need a separate thing for result if it's also a class. Unless we want to check to see if it's null. But I don't really want it to be a class. I guess we don't have a result. Let's get there when we get there. Why is this upset? How are you doing, physics? If you're here. Member with the same name is already declared. What? Oh, because it's... What? I don't know. I've chopped this up in such a way that it's like horribly butchered right now. Oh, this needs to go. Probably change this to description or something like that. But good. Sleepy, too many meetings at work. Yeah, I've got a meeting in like 20 minutes. So we're gonna need to wrap this up. I'll probably need to pick this up tomorrow. I know we've mostly just been kind of just messing around today. I'm kind of okay with that. So public static query for entities creates a new query, but not with a param list. So I'm gonna snooze the ads. All right, so this params has an includes. So this starts with includes. This has both an includes and an excludes. And so when we create this, we basically need... Oh, this should work because the component type, this component type set should just become, oh, I need to say new, no, I say new query, and I say new params. I like this new. You can get around that, I guess. Can't really get around that. How did I get around that here? Oh, because we had this was the direct thing, huh? Okay, that's fine. Make a new query with a new set of params that just includes the entity ID. Then, when we have a with, we say so you return this. Oh, I don't love how I've done this. So the way we do this is we're just going to say params. Oh, this is an opportunity to switch back to an add component, remove component model. Do we have this function? So what if we do this? What if we say public params include composition, and we just say this with includes equals composition. We do the same thing. Public params exclude composition. This with excludes. I might change this to description. Params is nice and short. I don't know. Params is cool, I guess. Maybe I have public params description. It seemed to be upset with params, which it normally likes, but I guess it doesn't like it when you have a struct declared the same thing. That makes sense. So query, so here we can basically say this with Let's say description.include components, and then we can just say return this. It's fine. It's not a one-line expression body, but it's fine, I guess. Say description.exclude these components. We just say return this. This is nice and simple. So we define a query. We can modify the query. Is this never used? This should kind of be, should be used, right? Is this used? No, it's never used. I feel like maybe the with thing is going to result in some weird stuff. Because this should be getting triggered when we say this with excludes equals components. That should be calling the constructor and passing this in for the excludes. But maybe it's not that smart. Maybe it's better to do it differently. Maybe we can just do this check here. Can we just do the overlap check? Because if we can, I don't care anymore. I guess this will never happen, will it? Maybe I don't care about defending against this. Okay, weird. I don't understand how the with works, but I do like it. The like this with. I don't totally understand how that affects the constructors or how it utilizes the constructors, but whatever. All right, I think we're gonna leave it just a huge mess and probably clean it up tomorrow because I gotta go, which is fine. I just used my last snooze, so we'll probably wrap it up here. We're basically deleting the result and the search, the query result and the query search, and making a single query class object that includes the original search parameters. It'll also include all of the things that result includes, all this stuff. Oh, how did that happen? I'm just trying to type a get here. All right, yeah. I'm gonna get a snack and some water before my meeting in just a few minutes here, maybe. Maybe I'll have a snack after the meeting. Yeah, I gotta go. Sorry for the kind of helter-skelter, kind of just, I don't know what the right word is. It's kind of scatterbrained stream today, but that's kind of how we starting. We usually hit our stride later in the week anyway. So we'll come back tomorrow. We'll finish up our fancy query class. Maybe fix one or two more things about the ECS, and then we're just gonna get some systems and we're gonna do some stuff. Hey, ship it. Thanks, Smooth, in a second. But yeah, I'm gonna hit the outro music here. I'm gonna wish y'all a great rest of the day, and I'm gonna see you next time. Bye.